I'd love to get your 90-second pitch. Who are you and what does your company do?
Hi, my name is Deep Patel. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called GigaWatt, and we're a company that's been around for 19 years, helping people become free from centralized power through solar and storage solutions. We're a company that's been helping people all over the United States implement solar and battery storage systems for their homes and businesses. And we have thousands of customers, over $60 in revenue since 2019. And solar and storage is just getting started, and we're excited to be changing the world with this wonderful technology.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I guess what's the kind of the origin story? How did you sort of get into this? What's making you want to explore going into this sort of vertical? Tell us a little bit about your story and how you got here.
It just all started through a college research report in around 2006. I studied the solar industry. I went to a conference. I met all these people there, and I was very attracted to the mission that these people were on. It seemed like they were trying to do something beyond just making money. This solar industry was making a change, and that really gravitated towards the mission to me. And
Hmm.
I was really interested, and I turned this report in. I got an A on the report, but I also made a link to the industry.
Mm, mm,
I took a financial job for a little bit, try to do that industry and, for about 6 months or so, but it wasn't really resonating with me, the purpose and the mission.
sure.
And so I decided to quit. I was 23 at the time. I leeway to quit and try something. And I'm like, hey, let me go try something in solar.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, solar at this point, 20 years ago, really wasn't a part of the public narrative or the conversations. It didn't seem like in my world at least, but I was also probably, in my 20s and not even really thinking about it. So I guess, what were the conversations just back then that you were just kind of hearing and kind of seeing maybe where, this industry was going at that time?
Yeah, that's a great point, Jeff. And, solar has been around for a long time. The first silicon solar cell was actually invented by Bell Labs in 1953.
Mm, mm,
And inside a popular magazine, they showed a picture of an American family with a solar panel and a battery in the yard.
mm,
And so this dream has been always around. And it wasn't until the 70s where the hippies, they started going up into the Northern California backwoods and started installing solar panels for the first residential applications in the 70s just to live off the land off grid.
yeah.
So it's always been a cottage industry until 2006.
Mm,
Governor Schwarzenegger signed, the Solar California Rooftops Initiative, and that turned into law, and that kind of stimulated the entire market
mm,
because he was from Austria, and he saw like Germany and some European countries where it was like, super cloudy, all embracing solar. And he was like, well, California has a lot of sun. We might as well use it here. And when he signed that into law, that really created this influx of capitalists coming in, and the industry started changing from this cottage hippie industry into more of a corporate industry, and money started flowing in, investments started to come in, and that's when it really started to take off.
yeah. So in your world, correct me if I'm wrong from my research, but I mean, you bootstrapped this company from the ground up, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. I've, haven't taken any outside investors. We just
Hmm.
bootstrapped it and grew it off of customers that wanted our products and services, and we took the profits and basically put it back into the company. So
Yeah.
in the last 19 years that we've been in business, we've just been bootstrapping this company.
So the reason I asked that question is number one, I love that sort of mindset around business. In fact, it speaks to myself. I try to take on the music industry without any outside investment, right? Like just these huge industries, where you're just seeing this like, man, this mountain's gigantic, but we'll just do it one step at a time. So I guess what were the kind of the thought patterns back then? What were you guys thinking? Was it just trying to own as much as you could? Just what was sort of the conversations going on around with yourself, maybe some partners at that point to say, this is how we're going to sort of climb this massive mountain of solar and energy and all the things all the wind pushing back at you at that point.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we just kept going, it's just through persistence and trying things. And really, the customers kept coming and investing in us, right? They buying our products and solutions. So they are, kind of your first investors, right?
Sure.
They're investing in you, they're believing in you, and they're paying you to do work.
Yeah.
So that really motivated us because we were getting customers and solving their problems. And then they were coming back saying, like, this is great.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
so they are really our initial supporters and our most important stakeholder in our business.
Sure.
And that's who
Yeah.
got us to where we're at now.
That's great. How did you like sort of think about the product side of this? I know the customers from just kind of diving in, you've got DIYers, you've got just, maybe people who are not, sort of tinkering like that. How did you sort of think about a product, what you guys should do? How does this fit, especially at that bootstrapping phase, right? Because again, probably a lot that you have to kind of think about here, but how are you sort of being strategic about, hey, we're going to start here, then we'll do this, and really kind of think about those first customers that jumped on board?
It kind of just started off just very organically. I pushed
Hmm.
out content. People read my content, called me and said, "Hey, I read, your article on solar panels. I have a project,
Mm, mm,
right? And I'm trying
yeah.
to do this." And I would just listen to what their pain point is and what they're trying to do, what their outcomes are. And I would go back, find a solution for them, present the solution, and they were like, "Hey,
Mm,
ready to go. I want to wire you a bunch of money for this."
mhm.
I've discovered the problem just by talking to people, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also did my own DIY solar project
Okay.
at my parents' house when I used to live there.
Mhm.
I learned a lot through that process of all the regulatory headaches, the paper
Mm,
got to do with the utility, and
right.
documented that and basically shared that with the world online. People were interested in following that story and saying, "Hey, I want to do what you did. Can you help me?" So that
Right.
really, by doing it on my own and learning every little nook and cranny, it allowed me to then help others do what I can do.
Sure. Sure. One of the things I thought I saw too is this concept of sort of vertically integrated. And I was wondering if we could kind of dive into what does that mean? Because I saw it across a couple other people that kind of talk about it. But what does that mean for what you guys do in your system?
So in the solar and battery storage industry, between the end user and, the source, there's a bunch of middlemen involved.
Mhm.
Distributors, resellers, branders, sales groups, finance companies.
Mm,
So by the time the product and service gets to the end user, it's inflated massively.
mm, mm.
And, people pay over $4 a watt to get this installed, solar and battery storage.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is we're just cutting out all the middlemen and teaching people how to do this in a cost-effective manner where they can source the solar and battery storage kit from us.
Right.
They can either install it on their own or hire a contractor to install it.
Mm,
They
mm.
just save a bunch of money,
Right.
probably like half the price compared to going through a turnkey company that says, "Here, sign here, we'll do everything for you."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that equals tens of thousands of dollars of savings for minimal amounts of work that the client actually has to do. They don't have to really do much.
Sure. Sure. And do you have your own certified hardware, or is this something that you're getting ready to launch? What does the hardware sort of look like in this space?
Yeah, currently, we're using other people's hardware.
Mhm.
A kit usually has 35 to 40 pieces inside of it to create a
Okay.
kit to put on your home or your business. And we're getting those products from different suppliers in the supply chain.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
We are going towards a model where we're also going to offer a quote unquote Kirkland brand.
Mm,
We have our own brand that, if customers don't want a brand preference, they can pick the house brand. And
okay.
that house brand of inverter and battery is just going to be the most cost competitive out there.
Mm, mm, mm. Eh, Yeah, I mean, so I know nothing. So of the space, what I know is my sister just installed a whole system in her house. That's what I know. Does all of these hardware play nice with each other? I used to work in the audio recording business, right? At recording studios. So you get some software works here, some doesn't work on this. This hardware doesn't work. They've got their own special adapter, and you're like, "Ah," you know. So
Yeah.
I guess does all of this stuff sort of kind of play nice together in this industry?
On the solar panel side, yeah, it's very agnostic, right? You can
Okay,
use pretty much any solar panel with any inverter and battery.
gotcha.
Inverter and battery gets more proprietary only due to
Mm,
safety reasons. You
okay.
want inverter and the battery tested together for safety. So, it doesn't basically go into a thermal event or start a fire, right? There's
Sure.
certifications required to have a safe system. So most
Gotcha.
inverter and battery companies, they spend, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on safety testing. So
Hmm.
those become more proprietary because you don't want a customer just, buying an inverter, going somewhere online, buying some random batteries, plugging it in your inverter,
Right.
you know, creating a safety issue.
Sure. Sure. Let's talk a little about some of these safety issues. How do you sort of navigate maybe customer fears or just the unknowns of, or navigate maybe even the troll world of this space that exists online? Just how do you sort of navigate that and say, no, no, this is safe. This is how we do it. The batteries are, I don't know, in the garage or whatever it is, whatever it is. But how do you just sort of navigate those conversations?
Yeah, well, we do a full set of plans for our clients. So everything is National Electric Code. It, complies with all local building and electrical and fire codes as well.
Hmm.
Everything that we supply has full code designs.
Hmm.
We also only products that are UL listed with the highest
Okay.
safety standards. So you're
Mm-hmm.
going to come to our company and get, there's really low batteries out, cost batteries out there, even cheaper than us, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they lack the certifications. And,
Mm-hmm.
clients don't even know this, right? They're just looking at the price and buying a battery. But, we educate our clients and let them know that these certifications are massively important when you're storing your own energy on your property.
Sure. Sure.
That's
Sure.
part of the education process we go through with our clients to make them become aware of what, they should be looking for.
Right. And where does software sort of fit into all of this? Is it something that you guys have your own or you use a third party? Or what does software kind of look like for
Yeah, so the software is really important. It's after you install and turn it on, how
hmm
to operate your system and get the maximum lifetime out of your, this investment you've made. Certain use cases, Jeff, are, hey, there's a storm coming.
hmm
Should I charge up your batteries right now and keep it in reserve, until the storm passes? You want customers to be able to easily do that if they want it.
mm,
And monitoring their system. Is it working right? Should I look into something? Kind of like a dashboard for them to see the
right.
analytics of their system. And
hmm
there's also times where there's grid events where they're going to pay you a lot of money to send that power back at a certain time
Mm, mm,
to take advantage of these opportunities to sell your extra energy to the utility and make a profit for that.
sure.
Currently in this industry, the software is written by engineers for engineers. Over the last 19 years, what I've learned is that we need more humanistic software.
Yeah. Yeah. It is always wild when you get in and then you're like, man, who designed this? Yeah, who did this? I mean, is the space that customizable that the way you're describing it? Again, I've never seen an app, I've never played with it, or anything like that. So is it something where it is like, hey, use this power, turn that off, or is it that sort of like you have those levers to really pull at the end
Yeah,
of the day?
there's a lot of advanced functionality in the software, but it's very just clunky, I would say. And,
Yeah,
I gotta know for the average user, it can be overwhelming.
sure.
Just to like figure out how to configure these systems. Our customers really rely on us to help them set this all up and make sure it's working for their lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to move over a little bit to just, you've been in the industry a long time at this point. What are mistakes that you kind of see out there that's maybe really rubbing you raw or like, yeah, I do not like this. I wish that didn't happen or that's hurting our whole industry because of so and so. What are those types of things that you're seeing from your vantage point?
Yeah, there's a whole terminology like the solar bros in this industry where they knock on your door. They basically sell you a solar loan or a solar lease.
We get about four of those a month. They just they
Yeah.
just they solicit every okay, hello again. Yeah, I got your card. Yep,
Yeah,
I'm aware.
exactly. I think that the industry has a black eye, right? Because of
Yeah.
these sales groups coming in and, signing up someone for a, 20-year lease. Now they bought a system that's worth, 20,000,
Mhm.
but
Right, right.
worth, that's supposed to be $20,000. That's now, they're paying $70,000 for in a lease.
Right.
So, there's this sales culture that was going on in the industry of just like ripping a bunch of people off. And it basically turned into a bad press for the industry because,
Mhm.
they sign up grandma for a 20-year lease. Grandma's paying the lease. The system's not working, right? The lease
Right.
payments are coming in and she's calling the original sales group. No one's picking up. So, this fast money, there was a lot of money to be made on those types of deals.
Yeah.
They really hurt the industry. And
Mm, mm.
the problem is like the customer could not get the transparency, right? They sold them on the monthly payment and said, "Oh, it's only $200 a month."
Mhm. Mhm.
They didn't know
Right.
how much they were paying in for the hardware, the labor, the finance fees that are all baked in. So
Yeah.
it was a very non-transparent transaction.
Right. Right, right, right.
People did get ripped off if they signed
Yeah.
up these bad deals.
Yeah. I wanna talk about, financing for a minute. What does it look like in your space? Because I know, again, just talking to my sister, she just went through all of this, but what is, like, soft is it soft financing? Is it bank what's happening kind of in your space around financing?
Yeah, so there's, leases are still there. And it
Mhm.
makes sense for certain types of people out there that want to lease. But a lot of our customers, what we do is we teach them how to get, the lowest cost of capital financing. For
Mhm.
example, HELOCs are a great way people finance home improvement, whether
Mm.
they're in a kitchen remodel, bathroom remodel, anything around their house. They're usually using a HELOC. So we have a HELOC partner that we refer our customers to that are comfortable with solar and can help them get the financing they need to get their solar project done. Um,
Right.
Also, local credit unions and banks are now very open to financing solar projects.
Mm.
So the customer has more options than ever now to get financing compared to like 10 to 15 years ago,
Sure.
where there
Yeah.
were only these solar specialist loan companies.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
Is there a part of the narrative too at all, around, I know that like certain projects increase the value of your home. Hey, the kitchen, the bathroom, right? Like, oh, if you spend money on there. Does solar have something similar, kind of in the sort of the narrative, the investment narrative of like, yeah, if you do this, your home values go up. Does that
Yeah.
exist?
Yeah, exactly. In some markets, it does. Like, for example,
Hmm.
Southern California or a lot of California and Hawaii, where prices for the grid power is just so expensive and there's a lot of sun. And there could also be some grid reliability issues, like grid going out here.
Yeah.
When buyers come into a home and they see solar and storage that's owned already, no loan on it,
Yeah.
it does increase the value of the home. It's
Hmm.
data that shows that. But let's say you're in like, Missouri or some other type of town where grid power is cheap and the
Hmm.
grid is super reliable, right? Having a solar and storage system over there probably might not increase the value
Sure.
as much. So it's
Yeah.
very regional dependent on electric rates and power reliability.
Yeah. So one of the things here in Michigan is we are fighting some data centers right now. I think they want that Great Lakes. So that conversation is all over my news feeds, all over in our local boards here. Where do you guys fit in that sort of same conversation we were just having about maybe regions? So if we've got a bunch of data centers here all over Michigan, and our power grid is maybe now fragile as opposed to it wasn't. I don't know. It's just sucking so much power in. I mean, I'm assuming it sounds like this is a potential solution to that. If we see power spiking because of these data centers, I'm kind of making my own and storing it. It seems like that's a potential alternative in this narrative right now.
Exactly. Our mission, Jeff, is to free you from centralized power, right?
Yeah.
You're dependent on centralized power right now, and you have no control over the cost. As these data centers come in and they suck all the electrons out of the grid, it's just a supply and demand problem, right? If they take all the electrons, the rest of everyone else pays more.
Yeah.
But what we
Yep.
do is we help our clients shield them from this, uncontrolled cost. And this conversation has been very relevant in California and Hawaii, where grid prices have been high notoriously.
Hmm.
Now we're seeing it happening across the nation. So this is like
Right.
really the first time people in Michigan are talking about their electric rates.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild. I cannot fathom what our bill looks like for February. We just got out of like 21 days of like 0-degree weather. You
Yeah.
know, my furnace has been on nonstop. You know what I mean? It's just like, man, it's just been freezing. We haven't had a winter like that in forever. So I have no idea what that bill looks like in February. It could be anything at this point. $10 million sounds good to me. Write a check. All right, cool. You know, so you mentioned, decentralization. So I want to talk a little bit about fundraising because that's why we're actually connected today. You currently have a Start Engine campaign out. I'd love to talk a little bit about maybe the conversations into why going to that. You've been bootstrapped for so long, you've got customers. Where does, hey, let's do a crowdfunding campaign sort of fit into the boardroom conversations? Where does that sort of pop up?
Yeah, we've been in business for 19 years, so we've touched a lot of people. We have an audience, right?
Hmm.
So we figured we'd be a good candidate for crowdfunding just because we have an audience and, we have a lot of other suppliers, vendors, partners that can also invest money in our campaign. We have a lot of believers because,
Hmm.
just touched a lot of people along the way. So, that's one thing. And then we also know there's a lot of people interested in investing in solar and storage in the general public. While, we know VCs and certain other types of angel groups, they're more interested in software and social media and AI right now is getting a lot of the capital, right?
Hmm.
So if I were to go to these VCs and angel groups, they're just not as interested in a solar and storage play because they have AI is what they're looking into right now.
Right, right, right.
This allows us to open up just a wider net of people that really believe in what we're doing and believe in this is the way America should move forward.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to ask a question because, and this is specifically for retail investors and not about your deal or your raise currently right now. But if somebody is looking at this and they don't know anything, they hear solar and they're just a retail investor and they don't know much. What should they be thinking about in terms of just the business itself? Like, what does this type of business look like? Is it, especially in like this type of setting right now, like what should they be thinking about that maybe, or what do they not know right now if they're like, yeah, I want to invest in solar, but I have no idea what that equals.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say is the first thing I would think about is this a business or is this an idea?
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because businesses have traction, they have customers, they have people, they have employees, and they have a lot of great reviews online.
Hmm. Right.
That's a business. And, in crowdfunding, there's a lot of great ideas. And, funding an idea versus funding a business is two different things.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
So I would recommend that people look into that. What is this? What am I really investing in?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. How much traction does the company have? Because as a business operator, I believe, you should be able to get some traction as a company owner. If you're
Sure.
gonna invest, ask for investment, right, from someone, you should have some of your money in it. You should have at least some track record of success
Hmm.
to get the product or service to a certain milestone at least, before you go to the crowd and say, hey, can you fund my idea?
Right, right. What are some potential objections though that might be in this space? Is it, a certain someone in DC that is, talking the opposite about all this sort of stuff, right? Like what are some objections that you might be hearing and trying to overcome as you're out fundraising right now?
I'm not sure, Jeff. I think that's a really good question. I'm still trying to
Hmm.
figure that out. What are the
Yeah.
objections? What's holding people back?
Hmm.
I know for us, what we are focusing on is education. We're
Yeah.
trying to touch our crowd in as many ways we can to educate them on what we're doing, why we're different, and why our strategy makes sense.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what we're going in with right now is just trying to educate the public on who we are and why we're different.
Yeah. How do you think of competitors in this? I mean, do you think it is the Teslas of the world that just eat up just sort of conversation, just noise, bandwidth, just in the space, or is it more strategic than that? Is it more, people trying to do it themselves? Like, what is competition kind of in your space?
Yeah, there is a lot of competition in the space, although, there's different segments of the market and we're in the
Hmm.
market of the DIY prosumer market. And this market has limited competition and it has, upwards to $1 billion in potential addressable market. So
Hmm.
we feel like we're in a niche market that's a massive niche that basically the rest of the industry didn't really pay attention to.
Right.
Most of the, established industry players are focusing on like the traditional solar and storage model. right?
Mm, mm,
Not
mm.
thinking about the DIY and the prosumer market. They didn't even really knew it existed. People
Right.
were asking me like 10 years ago, why would anyone even do that?
Mhm.
Why would someone want to manage their own project and bring in their own installer and why would anyone want that headache? But
Right.
now more people than ever are wanting to do this way because it just saves them a lot of money. It just makes it more affordable and it gives them the control.
Yeah. And I mean, is a potential obstacle regulations in this, or major pushback, or you can't do this, or the major power companies in general not allowing you to switch and turn things on and off? Like what are the big obstacles that could exist in what you're doing right now?
But yeah, absolutely, Jeff. Our customers have to jump through flaming hurdles, created by the utilities to turn their systems on, vested interest to make the process smooth for them, you know?
Yeah.
So
Right.
what we do is we basically navigate that for them, go, be that quarterback for them and help them get their approvals from the utilities because we know all the rule, we know all the laws, we know what, they're going to need to get the fastest and most speediest approval process for our
Yeah.
clients. So that's
Does that change state to state, city to city? How deep does it get?
yeah, it changes utility by utility. Every utility can make up their own rules, so it's very
Right.
like fragmented, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and these rules can
Whew.
change and it's that's the value we bring to the table is, we're going to help them get all the way through.
Right, right. Yeah, just a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap this up here. But I'd love to kind of, where do you see 6 months from now, 12 months, 18 months? Like what are some of those milestones maybe in the pitch deck that you guys are hoping to hit as funding comes in, and some of the new levers that you're going to pull?
Yeah, so we're going to continue to develop our vertically integrated inverter and battery solution.
Hmm.
And that's where a lot of our funding will go into the development of the product and expand our sales and marketing and working capital and inventory. And then 8% of it or so, we're looking at research and development to continue on the future development of generation 2 and 3 of the product.
Sure.
But yeah, we're basically reinvesting all this capital into growing and creating a bigger moat around our business to have a unique product that basically we can offer to our clients.
That's great. Are we behind other countries right now? Are you looking at other countries that maybe to lead the way? Is it like a Japan or a China or anything like that that have really embraced this type of technology? Is there anything like that going on?
But yeah, I mean, there's other countries like Australia that have,
Hmm.
it's just much easier to do. Parts of Europe as well. There's less regulation.
Hmm.
There's other countries where you don't have to get approval from the utility. You just have
Right.
to notify them that you did it.
Mm. Mhm.
So here we have
Yeah.
to actually get the approval from the competition, to turn your
Yeah.
system.
God, that's wild. Yeah, it's just, there's so many things right now where you're like, "That's how we do it?"
Yeah,
And this is just the next one.
yeah.
It is absolutely crazy. Well, I'd love to know, where should people dive in if they wanna learn more, kinda, dive into obviously the business, the deal, the raise, maybe connect with yourself. Where should we send people, who's interested in this conversation?
Yeah, so we are on Start Engine, so you can search Gigawatt on Start Engine and learn about the deal. You can also visit gigawattinc.com and you can also look me up on LinkedIn.
That's awesome. Well, for all my listeners out there, there's definitely more to explore here. But for all my listeners out there, please go over to the show notes, go dive in. Really interesting stuff here. And definitely, you guys are giving some power, no pun intended, back to the people here with this type of raise. But I really love what you guys are doing here. And for all the listeners, go check it out. Go check out the deal and connect with Deep if you want. Deep, appreciate you taking time out of your day. I'll let you get back to the raise and good luck with it. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jeff. Really appreciate it.